Kadosh Boker or Bekiim Bahalacha day 27. אנחנו בדף 80, okay? בי"ב, למעלה. Okay, we're talking about Nachon Lachmir. אתה איתי? Okay. If someone asks the rabbi a halachic question, but the rabbi has not yet said Birkat Hatorah, so obviously you should postpone from answering until he says Birkat Hatorah and the Birkat Kohanim. This is true even if the answer is yes or no, and certainly if the answer is lengthy, right, that it needs an explanation. זאת אומרת, שואלים רב שאלה, הוא צריך לברך ברכת התורה וברכת כהנים. Okay? Says the footnote number 73. The Rama says that it's permissible to issue a halachic ruling even before Birkat Hatorah as long as it does not explain the rationale for the ruling. Meaning, מותר לו להגיד כן או לא, אבל, yeah, but he's not allowed to explain. זאת אומרת, כן, לא, וזהו. Okay? Now he says, but the Ben Ish Chai also agreed with this. But now, what does this mean exactly? So the Mati Yehuda explained that the Ramah's ruling applies to a monetary dispute between two parties. And the rabbi was called upon to adjudicate between them. The rabbi may tell them which party wins with the dispute, right? Even without saying Birkat Hatorah, since he's simply just informing who's correct. And not that he's engaging in Torah study. Meaning he's giving you a din. Zelo kilu shu lomed Torah. You know, that's what he's trying to say. So he says the Ramah does not permit us to learn the halachot before reciting the blessings, even if the list does not explain the rationale of these halachot. Maran the Shalom added the Ramah's lenient ruling applies only to monetary disputes, but also to, right, also other halachic rulings, which, right, you know, whether a food is kosher or not, or is it permitted on Shabbat or not, and this is also the Minchat Aron. Regarding a monetary dispute, however, the Minchat Aron ruled that Rabbi may not listen to the arguments of the two litigants and say which one's correct. The Rishon pointed out that the Mati Yehuda concurs with this and only permitted that the Rabbi just state his ruling early in the morning before reciting Birkat Hatorah after having heard the arguments the previous day. The Rishon disagreed with this poskim, and he explained that the Ramah's leniency applies even to issues of halachic rulings, as long as the rulings of the halacha, the reasons are not giving. Likewise, it's permissible to write a halachic ruling without explaining the reason for it. Thank you. Yeah, he says in summary, before a rabbi recites Birkat Hatorah over Torah study, the Mati Yehuda forbids him to recite a list of halachot, right, for this reason, right, even if the reason is not given. But Maran the Rishon LeZion said, right, permitted it. And again, it is going to be forbidden for the rabbi to listen to the arguments, okay? But if he heard them yesterday, so then he could say the ruling. And number three, it is permissible for him to rule whether or not something is kosher or not kosher, or something is permitted on Shabbat or not. The Mishnah Berurah quotes the Gal Mivilna, who disagreed completely on the Ramah. Right? Remember, the Gaon was very, very strict on all of Birkat Hatorah. He said that even thinking in your mind, you remember that was the Gaon. So therefore, it's very important. He was very, very strict with this. So he ruled that it is forbidden to issue a simple halachic ruling, just like forbidden, right? It's forbidden to say a pasuk. Maran the Rishon LeZion suggested that this issue is related to that of saying halachic ruling while in the dressing room of a bathhouse. According to the Rishonim that say that it's permitted, so therefore you're also allowed to do such a, you're allowed to do so even without Birkat Hatorah. But according to the Rishonim that say that you're not allowed to speak in the dressing room, it is forbidden for the rabbi to issue a ruling until after he says Birkat Hatorah. And according to many poskim, it is forbidden to even think about Torah subjects before one recites Birkat Hatorah. And the rabbi must think of the halacha and the reasons. So the Shalom ruled that the rabbi should try to avoid ruling any halachic things until after he says Birkat Hatorah, and he repeated it also in Halichot Olam. Halacha number 13, Yud Gimel, Ken? Psukim. According to some poskim, it is permissible to say psukim as the text of one prayer, even without saying Birkat Hatorah, right? As long as the person's intention is only to pray and not to study Torah. So others disagreed and ruled that even in such a case, you still have to say Birkat Hatorah, and it's best to follow the stringent opinion and actually do this, even if the intention is just for prayer and not for Torah study. It follows, therefore, that when a person rises early in the morning to recite Selichot, so in the month of Elul, right? Selichot, you're learning, you're not learning, you're praying. No, still you should say Birkat Hatorah. Okay, and after saying Birkat Hatorah, then you do Selichot. Likewise, on any day of the year, one should not say Vatitpalel Chana or all these other things until after saying Birkat Hatorah. Says the footnote number 74 that Rabbi Turim cited the prayer book of Rav Amram Gaon, listing verses to be recited before the blessings over the mitzvah of the Torah study, meaning Birkat Hatorah. And he added that his personal practice was to say first Birkat Hatorah, immediately after saying Elokai Neshama, and then to say the Pesukim of Birkat Kohanim, referring to this, Rabbi Yosef recited the Agur, saying that Rabbi Meir of Rothenburg, Maram Rothenburg, he ruled that it is unnecessary to say Birkat Hatorah before saying Pesukim. כן? אתה מבין, כן? לגבי פסוקים. Okay, this is likewise the opinion of the Shibulei Aleket and Mari Mulin. The Gur then demonstrated Rabbeinu David B'Daham that he said that it is necessary to recite the blessings even before saying psukim, even though, right, you're just doing it as a tefillah. The Mari Mulin, cited by the Agur, ruled that there's nothing wrong with reciting verses before the blessing of Birkat Hatorah, as long as one recites them as prayers and is not intended doing Torah study. He testified that this is a common custom in Ashkenazim. The Orchot Chaim in contrast testified no, that the custom during the Seder Teshuvah was to say the Birkat Hatorah and then to begin Selichot. That's on one side you have the Agur, right, Rabbeinu Mari Mulin, right, and the Shibulei Aleket ruling, right, that one may say the psukim before saying Birkat Hatorah, and on the other side you have Rabbeinu Avraham ben David, right, and you have the Baturim and the Orchot Chaim saying no, you first say Birkat Hatorah. So the Rishon LeZion cited the response of the Rambam, right, Shuta Rambam. He was asked about the issue and he ruled that one must say the berachot, right, before any pasuk. And it doesn't matter what the contents of the pasukim is. The question and response was not available to Maran because the Bet Yosef didn't have the Shuta Rambam. Okay, the Shulchan Aruch says one must recite Birkat Hatorah, right, over a Torah study, even if the intention is the supplication. And there are those who rule that it's permissible since the person is saying the psukim and is not Torah study. It is best to follow the first stringent opinion. So Maran himself says better to be stringent. The Rama adds in a gloss that the custom in Ashkenazim, right, follows the second opinion, to be lenient. And therefore, on the days that they say Selichot, they say Birkat Hatorah only after Selichot. Likewise, they say several tefillot in the morning when they enter the synagogue and afterwards, right? And it's only going to be afterwards are they going to come and say Birkat Hatorah. The Rishon LeZion explained that the Rama is teaching us that originally custom was to say Birkat Hatorah, right, after completing the morning supplications, but that during his generation, they changed and improved their practice, saying it first and then saying the Selichot. In practice, right, obviously, a cursory reading of the Shulchan Aruch that he ruled stringently, but the Achronim debated what he really meant. The Chikre Lev maintained that technically Maran concurred with the second opinion, which is the lenient one, but he just recommended follow the first one. And this is likewise how the Ruch HaShulchan Epstein interpreted Shulchan Aruch. Rav Chida, however, insisted no, the Maran definitely ruled in favor of the stringent opinion. Okay? Maran, the Rishon LeZion, defended the position of the Chikre Lev, arguing that the special language used by Shulchan Aruch in this case lends itself to the interpretation. In truth, Maran had no clear source for the ruling stringently, right, except for the fact that the tool, right, challenged the lenient practice, suggesting that it might be incorrect, and therefore establishing more stringent custom. The lenient practice follows a logical basis as taught by Maran Mulin. Normally, we would say that since Maran's intentions are not clear, we should follow the stringent ruling of the Rambam as responsive. But on the other hand, the Chikre Lev and Aruch HaShulchan both insisted that Maran definitely ruled otherwise. Based on this, the Rishon LeZion defended the practice of reciting the Palel Chana before Birkat Hatorah. Okay, despite the fact that Rav Chida says it's incorrect, Yosef, right? Maran Rishon LeZion ruled that it is best to be stringent based on the Rambam. Okay, and then he says also, because it could be that that's also the opinion of the Rambam Gaon and others as well. But that being the case, it is likely the Maran would have ruled stringently if he knew that there was the Rambam. Right? Meaning, Im hu yada sheyesh shuta Rambam, ve'shuta Rambam omer mefurash. He says mefurash that you have to say Birkat Hatorah, right? And then say Selichot, or then say Vatipalel Chana, or then say Psukim. He would have ruled. He didn't have the Shuta Rambam. Lo haya lo et ze. Right? Lo haya Shuta Rambam b'idei Maran. Okay, but it only came out afterwards. Nevertheless, those who continue to practice leniency have a solid basis for the practice, especially since the obligation of reciting blessings over Birkat Hatorah is only midrabanan. And therefore, if someone sees the opportunity to perform a mitzvah, so he should do it, and you can follow the lenient opinion. The Or LeZion rule that technically the halacha permits saying it, right? The custom of the Sephardic Jews is to make the Birkat Hatorah beforehand. Okay? And obviously, Rav Vadia went against this.
If somebody did the Birkat Hatorah, and you get aliyah.
Reciting Kriyat Shema, the Or LeZion dealt with the issue of someone who only has a minute left to say Kriyat Shema. Now you have a choice. It's either you say Kriyat Shema bizmana, or you say Birkat Hatorah and then Kriyat Shema, but then you're going to lose Kriyat Shema. If you say Birkat Hatorah, you missed it. So what do? Technically, in such a case, the person should say Shema immediately, even without Kriyat Hatorah. Birkat Hatorah, sorry. However, since it takes a very little time to say Birkat Hatorah, and it's difficult to pinpoint the genuine end time of Kriyat Shema, one should actually say the Birkat Hatorah and then Kriyat Shema. In such a case, of course, the blessings for Torah study come before the other ones in the morning. Okay, obviously you would say Birkat Hatorah before Birkat HaShachar, obviously, in such a case. Okay? So with this, we actually just finished day 27.